Ready?
I'm good.
All right, then we're going to call the meeting of February 22nd, 2018 to order. Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Chera.
Here.
Council members Long.
Here.
Napolitani.
Here.
Shepherd.
Here.
And Mayor Siciliano.
Here, everybody please rise for a pledge of allegiance, and then we're going to have a moment of silent prayer for the students of Florida. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, the notice requirement of the Open Public Meeting Act for this meeting has been satisfied. A copy of the annual notice was sent to the Asbury Park Press, coaster posted in Town Hall and filed in the office of the municipal clerk on December 28th, 2017. There are two fire exits, one to my right, which will take you out to the front parking lot, and one to my left, which will also take you out meanders down the hall into the front parking lot. If you have a cell phone, now's the time to please turn it off. If you want to keep it on just to take pictures, etc., that's fine. If you need to make a phone call, kindly go out into the hallway. At this time, before we start our regular meeting, a couple of messages we'll make. I'll start off with saying that we met with our chief of police today in our workshop just to go over what's going on as far as what they're doing for school safety in light of the tragedy that happened last week in Florida, all those families, parents, students, etc. And glad to hear that he had a nice full report for us. There are actions that they are taking, and he has been in touch with the school, and so they have a plan. They've had a plan in place. Actually, we're one of the first towns that had one prior to any of these incidents, but they're furthering and strengthening their plans, which is great to hear. They do make daily visits, incidentally, to each and every school unannounced. They come in, and there's always a police officer every day, at least once a day, in every school in town. So just to let you folks know that that's one of the things that they're doing. And he does oversee drills that the school has, also safety drills, in the unlikely event such a tragedy should happen here in Ocean Township. So that and other items on the agenda that they're also discussing, and we're jointly discussing things with the school as well. So just to give you that update. With that, John, you have anything for us?
Two things. One final reminder for Hidden in Plain Sight, which will be on Tuesday, March 6, 2018 at 6:30.
We're not coming down.
It will also be filmed so that it can be broadcast to people who can't make that. We do apologize to the Board of Ed. That's the night of their board meeting, but unfortunately this was a date that we had to get together with Special Agent McMahon. And one other thing I'd like to state, our next door neighbor, Asbury Park, had a tragedy this morning, very early this morning. Young child, 10 years old, little Giovanni Banos, was gunned down in his home. Once again, gun violence hits us in Monmouth County. Our neighbors next door knew this child. I know his sisters. I work in the school district, and I just have to say that our thoughts and prayers need to go out to that family. It's a tragedy that nobody ever wants to go through, and it really hit close to home today, dealing with these students. Dealing with them in school, and like I said, it's right next door to Ocean Township. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the Banos family.
Right. Thanks, John.
Yep.
Donna, do you have anything?
Just that we're working on our St. Patrick's Day and the Memorial Day Parade. St. Patrick's Day is going to be March 16th, and that'll be over at the Renaissance at 6:30. There's flyers all over if anybody's interested. And then Memorial Day Parade will be on May 27th, or Sunday, and the ceremony will be Monday, May 28th.
Okay, great. Thank you. Rich, you have anything for us today?
Yes, Mayor, I do. This past Sunday at the Turner Gallery, which is part of Ocean's Library, the Community Hope Fund held its Art for Hope auction. All of the art that was auctioned was donated by local artists and collectors. There was also a gift auction and refreshments, and a clearly superior piano player. Deputy Mayor Chera and Township Attorney Marty Arbus attended with me. Marty was outstanding in announcing the winning bids,
I think that's easy.
and his jokes were hilarious, and they really were. I mean, he was really on
fire.
point. He was on fire. I am happy to report the Community Hope Fund raised $1,129 by having the Art for Hope auction. I thank the entire committee for doing a great job. A lot of planning and preparation went into that art auction. And we hope that we can have something like that again, and we can draw even a greater number of people. And that's my report, Mayor.
Thanks, Rich. Rob?
I have two things, Mr. Mayor. Tomorrow, the township manager, myself, and anybody else joining for the deer and Mr. Long are meeting with the New Jersey Deer Management Group, if they show up. This is our fourth
attempt. Yeah.
Yes. So hopefully they'll be there, and we will be discussing deer management. Monday, February 26th is the next planning board meeting in this room, 7:30. Agenda's pretty light, but you can find it online if you're interested. Have a great night.
Thank you.
It's not online yet.
Okay. We'll have the agenda.
It will be online soon.
Thanks, Doug. Mike, you have anything for us tonight?
Nothing this evening.
Okay. Marty, anything?
Nothing this evening.
All right, before we go, I just want to say congratulations to our Ocean Wrestlers. This is the end of the year. Individual tournament had started. Districts are over. We advanced 8 wrestlers to the regions. 3 of them got through the first round last night, and so they'll be wrestling. We'll have everybody wrestling tomorrow again, advancing in a quest for a state championship. Fun time. We used to look forward to it every year. This is great. Exciting stuff, so we'll keep you posted on that. At this time, I'll go right into this. The purpose of the public meeting is to solely ask questions, understand resolutions that appear on this agenda is not an occasion for a public hearing on an ordinance. All questions not related to an item on this agenda should be asked during the public comments portion at the conclusion of the meeting. So if anybody has anything to the consent agenda or the agenda, we're using this little microphone here on the table. You kindly come up, state your name and address, pick up the microphone, and you're welcome to make a comment. Sir, you have the floor. After you get out of the chair, that is.
This is going to be interesting. Don Geiger, 1108 Grassmere Avenue. Let's start with 18048. Can someone tell me what the difference between, cost-wise, between the last year's contract or 2 years contract and the current agreement is?
Could you tell us that number
What
again,
number?
Mr. Guy?
18040.
Oh, that one.
That one. Yeah, that one.
Okay. There's been no change.
Okay, so the cost amount is going to be the same?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. 18041 on the pool thing. Will our fees collected going to cover the cost? Do you know what the projection is?
Oh, this for the added cost here?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay. That was easy, wasn't it? And last but not least, or least at this point, 18042. On the cost for the unarmed security services, does two-part. Does West Long Branch contribute to the fee, or we charge them for using
Well, we have a cost that we pass on
onto
to
them? Okay, does that cover the total cost, or how much do we kick in? Do you know?
Oh, I think
It's broken down by a percentage-wise. The other towns that we share
Okay.
support with, they each pay a certain percentage towards it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's our percentage?
Off the top of my head, I want to say 50%, and then the other two are 25-25.
Okay. Do we get anything out of the court fees?
we get about $131,000 a year as a contract from West Long Branch. It's pretty good.
No. I mean the fees that the
That
court
imposed by
charges.
West Long. No.
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 Okay.
If West Long Branch imposes a fine or anything like that's for
Goes
it's
to
their
West
court.
Long Branch.
They're just using our space and we have a contract.
Okay. Just trying to find out. Thank you.
Yep.
That's all told.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Anybody else on the consent agenda resolution? Okay. And this is just 2 items that appear on the agenda, sir. Anything else? We'll have an open public discussion at the end. Yep. Thanks. Thanks, Bu. All right. So we're all good on that. Did we? Yeah, where's one? Okay, where's? Where's one? Right, I got it. Where's John's stuff?
It's right here. Right here.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to,
We're gonna vote on F-45 separately.
okay, so resolutions, somebody please offer resolutions 18037 through 18043, because 18045 we're gonna do separately. Someone please offer those four.
I'll offer.
Second?
Second,
Deputy Mayor Chair.
Yes.
Council members Long,
yes.
Napolitani.
Yes.
Shepherd.
Yes.
And Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, and for individual actions, so 18040, ratify the collective bargaining agreement with PBA Local 57 for the period January 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2019. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second?
Second,
Deputy Mayor Chair.
Yes.
Council members Long.
yes.
Napolitani.
Yes.
Shepherd.
Yes.
And Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, 18041, approve the amendment to the contract for lifeguard services at Ocean Township Pool and Tennis Facility, increasing the cost by $31,041 for a total not to exceed the contract amount of $135,241. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second?
Second,
Deputy Mayor Chair.
Yes.
Council members Long.
yes.
Napolitani.
Yes.
Shepherd.
Yes.
And Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, and that's to keep the hours the same as last year's. Had a proposal that we were going to shorten the hours at the pool club by later entry and earlier exit, but we're going to keep them the same as last year, so the times will be exactly the same. 18042, award a contract to East Coast Protection Service, Asbury Park, New Jersey, to provide unarmed security service for the Ocean Township West Long Branch courts at a cost of $22 per hour, with a total not to exceed $17,000. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second?
Second,
Deputy Mayor Chair.
Yes.
Council members Long.
yes.
Napolitani.
Yes.
Shepherd.
Yes.
And Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, 18044, authorize interlocal service agreement between the Township of Ocean and Board of Fire Commissioners number 2 to provide fire subcode inspection. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second?
Second,
Deputy Mayor Chair.
Yes.
Council members Long.
yes.
Napolitani.
Yes.
Shepherd.
Yes.
And Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, and 18046, authorize a professional service contract with Sockler Realty Service Group, Inc. for appraisal services on Block 35, Lot 6.8, 10, 11, 13, 14, and 46 at a cost not to exceed $5,000. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second?
Second,
Deputy Mayor Chair.
Yes.
Council members Long.
yes.
Napolitani.
Yes.
Shepherd.
Abstaining.
And Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. And finally, for 18045, I need someone to help me approve the naming of a roadway off of West Park Avenue leading into our new senior center, Heritage Village, at Oakhurst, so Uber drivers and others can find the building. And we decided on the name of John Huss Lane. So
Oh, yes.
we need a, would someone please offer?
I'd
I'll
be
gladly-
happy to offer that.
Okay.
Do you mind?
Go ahead.
We have a second.
And I would love to second it.
All right. Ben, roll call.
Deputy Mayor Chair.
Gladly. Yes.
Council members Long.
Well, having known John from the time back in 1975, when the slate of candidates was Palea, Wetzel, English, Ben, and Huss. I've known John a long time, and I can't think of a better guy to have this new roadway named for him than John Huss. I gladly vote yes.
Well, then in that case,
Hold on. Councilmember Napolitani.
oh,
And Mr. Huss, I feel the same way. Go way back. Uncle Larry would be very happy to hear this. I gladly vote yes.
And Councilwoman Shepherd.
And I vote yes.
And Mayor Siciliano.
and yes, so it's our honor, sir, to do this distinction for you. We'll have a little ceremony for you once we put the street sign up. We'll let you know when that'll be. No, that was quid pro quo, sir. You have your street. Leave my golf balls where they are, in the water where they belong.
Do I get a vote?
No, you don't, Marty. Well, do you have something to say about it, though?
Well,
I'd
I
like to
moved
listen
into
to you.
town here in
To hear it.
let's see, 1977 when I moved in, and John Huss became my insurance agent here in Ocean Township.
Hey,
Known him
nice.
a long time.
Mr. Huss's service to the community is, everybody knows, been a long, long time, and he's been providing stuff for us behind the scenes quietly. And you'll notice those nice little stickers for the "We Love Our Police." This was a John Huss, among other things that he does quietly, without any fanfare, He does love the town. He's contributed to the town. He's volunteered for the town many, many years, served on the sewage authority and on the town council. So for that reason, we decided to honor Mr. Huss. Plus, we needed a name for the street. What the heck?
And it was a
right?
short street, so your name was short, so it worked out good.
Well, you're there, forever there. Gotcha. Okay, at this time, we'd like to open up for public comment. Anybody has anything, please come up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
There you go.
View, come on up,
He
man.
was ready.
Perfect timing.
My name is Mike Zemo. I live at 1101 Roselle Avenue in Wanamassa. I just had a question. On the election this past year, we had a question on there. Would the residents of Ocean Township want to see more open land? I think it was voted yes. On that, I was wondering also, has the council taken a view yet of what's going on up there on 35 and Deal Road?
Oh, yeah.
Are they for it or against it?
Are we for or against? Well, we're not a deciding body about that. We'll go to a planning board. What we're challenged with is, and our attorney will comment further, that we're need to do a zone change on that property, Mike. It was something that we rezoned years ago that the owner's challenging, and they feel it was unfair. We didn't think so, but they feel it is. And so to that end, we've been in litigation for the past 12 years to rezone it to something that's more usable. And so that's really what our function is going to be. Any application is going to go to a planning board, and then they'll decide. That's the judicial body to decide whether they're for or against it.
So you haven't taken any viewpoint yet on?
Well, I have. I've been quoted in the paper as I want to see it, keep it green forever, but that's my
Yeah.
personal choice, not my professional choice.
But the council as a whole hasn't made a
It's on
decision.
for a hearing at the next, the March 8th meeting is the rezoning will be on for a hearing before the council.
Is that going to be done at the planning?
Well, first, the rezoning will be done here,
Right.
and then if that's approved, then it would go to the, if the applicant then makes an application, that application will be before the planning board.
So, I mean, is it definite that there's going to be a change in the zoning of that property?
Nothing is definite, but there'll be a hearing here on March 8th for the change in the zoning.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, good. Thank you. Anybody else come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record?
Bill Commons, 7 Center Street, Unit 2206, Nobility Crest at Ocean. I'm here basically to ask a question about something called discontinuous cluster ordinance. I went to all the planning board meetings. The planning board approved the new construction of Nobility Crest on April 24th, 2017. I have the resolution here. But on that same night, the lawyer for the applicant, a guy named Falvo, brought this notice of a hearing to the planning board, and he wanted to change a few things. My opinion, I thought he was trying to pull a fast one. And in this, it says here, in conjunction with site plan approval, the following variances or waivers are required, and there's like section so-and-so, they were all right. But then he went on down to another part of it, and he wanted to, basically it says, applicant requests, this is a funny part, the cancellation, elimination, or modification of the following conditions, which he put here 1 through 11 conditions. So I challenged him on all those conditions because I thought the planning board was going to approve this plan that night, and he comes and throws this curveball at the whole thing, which I thought was not right. But there's 2 of these, or 3 of those that really stood out to me. Was the first one was number 3. It says the applicant will pay a municipal inspection fee in the amount of $1,500 per unit. Well, the planning board, I don't know what one of the word, they eliminated that out of the plan. So that was to go to the town. So 1,500 times 78 units, $117,000 that would have went to the town. Okay, that's the town's issue, not mine. The other was what number 5, which talks about this discontinuous cluster ordinance. Now the planning board put that off because it's an ordinance, and they said to the Falvo that you would have to discuss it with the mayor and council because it's an ordinance, and that money comes to $1,259,600 to the town. Now, what I'd like to know is that been discussed?
Yes.
Is that satisfied already?
Well, we renegotiated. We got a nice settlement from
And
him.
what did we get?
497,000.
Ouch. 497.
Yeah.
It was $1,300,000.
It was $1,300,000 from a guy that went bankrupt, not from this developer. And we couldn't get a nickel from the guy that went bankrupt, so I got 497,000 from the guy that's there now.
Understand that the $1,300,000 included the units that are already up. And then the builder who built those units that are already up, like you said, went bankrupt. So that represents probably, I don't remember the numbers right now, but about 60% of the total project has already been built. I'm assuming you live in those units.
Right.
So this is someone else coming in to build the balance of the project.
So has this money been paid?
It'll be paid on the issue of the very first permit. So the deal is, as soon as he gets a permit to break ground, we get the entire sum. Whereas the other agreement was after COs were issued.
300,000.
Yeah. This time I worked out that, listen, you're going to pay us all up front. As soon as you get a permit to put a shovel in the ground, we get that amount. And that's basically his share of what the other person was paying before him for those amount of units as well. So.
And did they give you a projected date when he's put a shovel in the ground?
We're hoping he puts a shovel in the ground soon.
So he never gave us a date. I mean, he has a billboard out there.
He's getting his engineering completed. So once he has all that satisfactory, he'll probably come in for a permit late spring, I presume.
Because he owes us $350,000 also.
That'll be in there as well. Yeah.
We're supposed to get that when it breaks ground.
You will get that.
Okay.
So I worked it all out, Bill.
You had 3. What was the third one? Just curious.
The third one was the elimination of the tunnel between the parking garages, which
Yeah.
was a real
That did make
flabbergastor because it was never, ever brought up in the planning board, and all of a sudden it shows up on this night.
Right.
And that was one of my contentions, that our board, who negotiated with this guy, never got a dime for the tunnel. And the town was the ones that wanted to put the tunnel in. Well, I was saying, well, give us some money for the tunnel.
Yeah.
You know, some kind of negotiation. Then I was hoping out of the $1,300,000, we might have got a piece of that, you know, but you guys only got 400,000 or whatever you got.
497.
500,000. So we got screwed again by that builder. Hopefully you don't get screwed by this builder.
No, he's gonna. I think that's more than his share, so we'll be fine.
Okay.
Yep. Again,
Thank
once
you.
he pulls a permit, he writes that check. So, okay,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Bill. Mr. Huss, recognize Mr. Huss approaching the microphone.
They have buses on his street, so you can take like a bus to Huss.
Oh, you got to pick that one up there
That
on the
one right
table.
there.
There you go.
Don't get confused with all these over here. That's only if
You
you're.
can pick that up, John.
Pick that up. It's a 7-iron.
Yeah. You get familiar with it.
7-iron.
John Huss, West Allenhurst, Corley's Avenue. It sounds like a planning board meeting tonight, because that's what I'm going to talk about. I want to go back to 1972 when I was first appointed to the planning board. And I
This is good.
was sitting there, we did a master plan, and I looked and I saw a parcel of land on Deal Road and Highway 35. And I said, I can't believe nobody ever came in to build it. Well, later on, couple of years later, I got to know Joe Azzolino. And Joe had the food town in that corner, right? There was a food town, there was a Fish's department store, and a bank.
Fishes.
Remember right.
Yes.
And Fish's closed up, the bank closed up, Joe took the whole thing because Joe wanted to build on that corner. He wanted to take his unit and make a bigger office, bigger grocery store on that side. So it never came to fruition because Fish's went, bank, he had plenty of room there.
Wait, Mr. Azzolino was going to build on the corner of 35 and Deal. That's
He was talking about.
when
he
it's
says-
vacant now.
he's-
Huh.
We stood there and he said, I'd like to take and move over there,
Cool.
you know, because I need more room. However, it never worked. That's something I just happened to think about that tonight. That's not my preparation anyhow. But to go back to I can't handle that thing.
You're
You got it.
gonna have to hold it though.
Well, just sit in the chair and then hold the mic and read.
I don't know if it'll-
We'll go casual tonight.
All right. Am I allowed to do this? I
Sure.
Just talk into
Tom's
it
following
more.
you with the camera. You're
Talk
good.
into it, John, because he's got to pick you up for the TV broadcast. Seriously.
Well, I would rather stand.
I know you would.
There's a reason for me wanting to stand, and the,
Well, then-
the reason is that I'd have to appear before a couple of groups in my life, and they always had to look up to them, and they didn't deserve. They didn't.
You shouldn't be holding them up.
They didn't deserve for me to, because they were wrong and I was right,
You're right. We
and
get it.
they were
We get
above
it.
me.
We get it.
But anyhow, one of the things about that piece of property that we're looking at Route 35 and Deal Road is that all that I see is rateable. I don't know how you guys control taxes, but it used to be we want to bring in ratables to control taxes. That's how we do it.
Right.
We don't, you want to buy it, in different meetings, this thing you're going to talk about minimum $20 million, minimum, maybe even more. Now, if you're talking about spending out $400,000 a year in your tax rate, then you do that. If you go with this application, and it's a pretty neat application, I went through it. You're talking about $1.5 million worth of tax coming in.
Right.
Right?
Oh,
You're
yeah.
talking about a $2 million difference. Right? Is there a traffic problem? No. If you want a traffic problem, get rid of it. Knock down Kohl's, knock down Wegmans, knock down Target,
Costco.
knock down all those others, and then you can eliminate your traffic problem. This place would have minimal amount of traffic coming in compared to those places. You don't even notice the traffic from those places. And as far as commuter traffic, you're not gonna fight commuter traffic. Commuter traffic is going to be there no matter what you do. And it. So anyhow, so that's one thing about it. Now. We have 68 condos going in. Those 68 condos are looking at $600,000 condos, probably somewhere in that vicinity.
Right.
You think how many kids are going to be coming out of there? You have minimal effect. If you get
Right.
5 or 10 kids coming out of there, there's no effect in the school system whatsoever.
Right.
So you can't use that as a problem. And then you got a hotel. Take the hotel. But the condo's 600,000 times 68. What are you looking at? $40 million?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, 4.2. Yeah, 42 mil.
Something like that. Now you got a hotel. You got a 109 room hotel. What are you looking at for rateable on that? Another 20 million, 25 million, something like that. You got a room tax. You got income from the room tax, right? That's not bad. And even you're on a state highway. They take care of the state highway. You
Right.
don't have to worry about the state highway. Yeah, we'll have a little bit on Deal Road, but you're not. And as far as that, one of the great things I saw was when you come down north on 35 and you want to make the left onto on the Deal Road, you have to go in and out and sit and wait for
Cross traffic, yeah.
West traffic. This thing gives you a loop, boom, boom, you little melding like you have in West Park Avenue, boom, you're gone. No problem. Excellent. There's a couple other points that I'd come up with.
Got to be quick because Vinny's starting to look like he's.
No, he's got his arm locked in now. He's good.
He gets paid, I don't.
Ah, right.
Right? All right. Now, as far as open space, you mentioned open space. Do we have open space?
Yes.
God bless the Playa Park. And then Joe comes in and gets the other 42 acres. You got the Welch track, 108, 9 acres. You got the pool complex. You got the rec center out there. Cluster zoning. Don't forget cluster zoning and those tracks that were opened up. You got the Manor and Cotswold, both at 6 to an acre. No town in this country has 6 to an acre on those type of condos.
Right.
Ocean Township did it. Like Joe's play used to say, who did that? We did that.
Right.
We're proud of it. What else you want to talk about?
You're on a roll.
Yeah. But the biggest difference I have, again, is you want a $400,000 to $500,000 out, or you want $1.5 million coming in.
Right.
Now, do you
$2 million
think
swing a year, you're right.
you got a few houses on Deal Road that are coming before you and screaming and yelling? You know, I was hoping Jackie would be here tonight.
Right behind you.
Is she here?
She's
Well,
has a
good.
cloaking.
I'm glad you're here.
Cloaking device.
I'm glad you're here. Because the little guys have been Wanamass, no, I don't say little guys, no, but the great people of Wanamassa, great people of Oakhurst, great people of West Allenhurst, they need tax ratables. They don't need open space any more than what we have. That's and I think I can't say it any better than that. I was planning board for 7 years, something like that. And unfortunately I got elected to council, so and you guys got me mad tonight.
Listen.
No, because I saw the sign and it wasn't that.
That's great.
I think that's about all I can cover. What else do we want to go about? What else would be a problem with there?
Well, I think you mentioned we have over 873 acres of open space already, based on all the stuff that we have with the pool and the golf course and...
Yeah, and I forgot the golf course,
right.
And you got ball fields and the schools. Right. You got more open space than we need in there. You got a tract of land on Highway 35. It's commercial, whatever you want to make it. Then it was always commercial, as far as I was concerned.
So in your day, that would have been developed, right?
Joe, unfortunately, my buddy Norm Fish closed up. He's a dear friend of mine. Got sick. And as far as the bank moving, they didn't make it. But otherwise, Joe Ezzolino would have been over there. They would have developed a long
Interesting.
time ago. Thank you.
Good deal. Thank you for the history,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Huss. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thanks for holding that microphone.
I just want to say,
Give him a bonus.
just correcting one thing. The Manor and Cotswold, 3.2 units per acre.
There you go. Even better yet. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? You have to use the microphone tonight because that's one's out of commission. Thank you, Jackie.
I just want to follow Mr. Haas. Is
Great.
that it?
Hard act to follow.
I actually have a piece of paper a report I'd like him to read, and then we'll meet here again next meeting. Anyway, I saw on your agenda on the private part of the meeting, you were going to be, I guess, reviewing the Rutgers study.
Oh, I was going to invite them in tonight. We just couldn't get the times together. So I'll have them in at a later time. But I was planning on having them on the workshop agenda.
Oh, so you didn't, when I didn't see it happening here, I thought you did it in private.
We were trying to do it in workshop. Workshop's open to the public, by the way.
Oh, I thought there were a private session.
Well, there's a closed session to discuss personnel, litigation, things like that. But those sessions, we have people come up upstairs at 5 o'clock.
Oh, okay. All right. So I guess.
Unfortunately, I couldn't get the timing together. Vinny and I were trying to work it out.
Well, could we have them come next week before the 42303?
Here's the thing: they can come whenever they want. It has nothing to do with the ordinance. And you have to you got to separate the two. They can come before the planning board hearing if that's what you're looking for.
Okay.
It has really nothing to do with the ordinance. It's something that has to do with litigation only, and you have to make that asunder from this study of Rutgers, because I probably agree with everything they say, but it has nothing to do with the ordinance change. Any application there, if that's what you're talking about, maybe that might have an impact on them. I don't know, but we have to separate.
Well, I
the
think
two.
when you look at the amount of impervious ground cover, it would be a consideration if we want to make more impervious ground
Now
cover
listen,
for water.
if that site was approved as Stop and Shop, it was 90% impervious. This guy's got it under 50%. It's unheard of for developing a property. 50%, under 50%. Almost was 90, and
I'm
that
just
was going
talking
to
about
go
where
through.
we are today without it, where we
Okay.
have a tiny little slice here, which is why I think
A slice
certain
of what?
people of green.
No, we don't. We have 3,000 acres of tree canopy. I don't know where you're getting this sliver of green
This
from.
is from the
We're
study from
7,313 acres in Ocean Township, and we have 2,923 acres of canopy.
But,
That's not a sliver.
but it's
That's
not
38%.
natural like that. Well, this study was done recently. That's why I
My
thought it
reason-
would be important for
I
you to see it and talk
extrapolated
to
the numbers
them.
from that study.
Well, I have it here too. That's
All right.
where I'm getting the graph from. I mean, it's not an argument.
Pie
It's just
chart.
this was done this
That
year.
belies the actual, and I think I've shown you a picture, Jackie. I
Yeah,
put
but
it
they
online.
have different pictures. So I guess it's a debate as to how this was done this year. So this
So
is the
my
most
picture was
accurate.
done about 3 weeks ago.
But you have a picture from the Google
Earth,
sky.
yeah, and it shows a lot of green in Ocean
Yeah, but
Township,
it's
not
a
a
lot
pie
of-
chart.
it's
that
a
looks
lot
like
of,
that looks like the Bronx where Marty grew up.
I know. Well, that's why we are.
Yeah,
That's
maybe
why.
that's my problem. My problem is I grew up in New York.
The concrete jungle, they call it.
A tree grew in Brooklyn. It was like a big deal. So, you know,
Well,
At
we're
any rate.
under 38%, and that's why we're of urban status now.
So
It's not
38%
suburban
of
any longer.
7312, do the math, that's over 2,800 acres of tree canopy. That's a lot.
Well,
That's hardly urban.
it's-
It's hardly urban.
in comparison to impervious cover, it's greatly less than what we have here.
Okay.
So anyway,
Yes,
this
go
was
ahead.
done before this graph was done before West Park and Hope was clear cut.
Right.
So
Another
anyway, I was
percent.
hoping that you could see the study. I was very impressed with it, and I had
I
hoped
have
that
the
everybody
study.
on the council. It was filmed, so you could actually see it. I'm sure you could get the tape of it, and then we could have a conversation about it if you disagree
Anytime.
with what the professor said. Okay, I have a number of other things, but Peter's here, and he's prepared to speak this evening, so I'm going to give him some time.
Okay. Anybody else? Mr. Geiger, I forgot your name. It's been so long since you've got up to the microphone.
And you helped me remember that I'm still Mr. Geiger.
Excellent.
Don Geiger.
You look just like him.
Yeah, I know. 1108 Grassmere, where I still live. And I guess I was going to throw it at both of you, but now since our illustrious councilwoman, Donna Shepka, mentioned St. Patrick's Day, did someone miss something when they made the menu
No.
on a Friday?
Well, we have fish and we have pasta.
Well, it didn't say that.
I know, but we don't advertise it, but we have it for anybody that wants it. We have fish, we have
Well,
pasta.
We're going to get special
we have
dispensation from
chicken.
Father BJ over at St. Mary's.
Not what Bishop O'Connell said, but that's
Well,
neither here nor there.
The way over at Mount Carmel, where I've been getting the dispensations in the past, he writes a letter to me and tells me that what we can do is anybody that needs to, and he full-heartedly believes that if you don't do it that Friday and you can eat, he wants you to eat corned beef and cabbage, and he said give it up for another day.
Okay, I won't
Okay,
get into
that's
long
what the-
theological
That's what
discussion.
the more modern priests are saying.
Mr. Geiger, I get dispensation
From the rabbi.
from the rabbi.
He can't eat cheese and
But
meat
it's
anyway.
Shabbos, so I can, you know,
Marty can have a ham and cheese sandwich
Friday night
once
Shabbos.
a week. All he gives up the other days.
I'm glad you got dispensation from the rabbi. Well,
Rabbi said it's
we
okay.
could discuss this later. Today. I'm not going to take up the meeting. How much did sending out that mailer cost us, by the way? The thing I got in the mail?
The
49 cents, I think.
47 cents.
40 cents.
Yeah.
I sent out. I think
do
I
you think?
believe I sent out about
The forever
200
stamp,
invitations.
Oh, well, that's not that bad. Okay. And now I'm going to make my usual shout out to Mary and Nancy in Public Works.
Folks in the I'm sorry, we're picked up on a microphone, Bill. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt your conversation, but go ahead.
Well, do it one more time.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to give a shout out to Mary and Nancy up in Public Works, who are continually very gracious, helpful, and terrific examples of public servants,
Great.
as
Thank
opposed to some other people.
Right.
Not mentioning names, but-
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Geiger.
Anybody else? Up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Mrs. Hudson. Sure.
No, we need you.
All right. No, she is.
Sit down.
Barbara Hudson of Wayside. I just want to mention also to this gentleman that in the next March 8th
Mhm.
is when this zoning change will happen. And that's most important to the development. Without that zoning change, you would have to delay the development, which we would hope to delay the development because we have been arguing that you've had two developers meeting, but we really haven't had a debate about where the people are in this township and what they might want.
Thank you. Mhm.
And they did pass the open space.
doesn't it?
Yeah, right, yeah. So we hope that you will delay that vote.
I'm not going to.
Well, okay, that
Okay.
would be our hope.
Okay.
All right. Now, the other thing I wanted to say with the school board, there were two ladies at the school board talking about the problems with the worrying about what's happening with the schools. One of them talked about being able to go back and forth into the school without anybody ever checking identities. She didn't have to show anything. So I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of interesting. Yeah. The other thing I had, you had a fire district vote. Right? Someone told me, and I didn't really realize, that our taxes in Wayside are going to go up by about 250 to 275, and in Wanamassa they're going to go up to 450 to 475. And I don't think we all realize
It's not possible.
I don't
it's not
think
possible.
so.
No. A year? From your fire district?
That's what I was assuming.
Yeah.
No, that's not possible.
Nope.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I mean, you might have read the numbers wrong. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I think everybody
that's-
knew that.
Yeah, that's
We'd be voting for sure.
that's more than 300% of their budget. I don't think it's possible.
Okay, well, find out.
I think they had a 10%. It looks like one of them had a 10 and one had a 12% rate increase. I think that's what you saw in there. If I had to,
What would we guess?
if I had to guess, pulling out the fire district's portion, 0.52 times a normal house are probably $45.
Can't hear all? Oh, I'm sorry.
Thanks. I'm gonna say an average home, fire district 1 is probably $45 a year. So 10% is like $5.
That's why most of us don't pay attention to it, I think.
Yeah, 0.052 is their factor.
Something like that, they said.
Okay, now the third thing I wanted to ask about, because Mr. Arvis has explained what happened with the Stop and Shop very well. Fenton thought it was very well. But there's a connection I'm not making. All right, because we know that Mr. Weldon wanted to buy that property, all of it. Not the 13 acres, he wanted always to be commercial, but he wanted the rest of the property. And as far as we understand, Mr. Turner wanted the township to have it. So the big, well, that's what we had understood. And the big snag came in with the Turner heirs wanting to sell. I mean, I think they brought in Stop and Shop, if I'm right.
Maybe.
All right.
Mhm.
So that's right. Now, you said that the township could change the overlay zoning, and that was okay, right? I mean, the council decided they were going to have an overlay. This would allow Stop and Shop to build.
Yeah.
Right. So you have this situation where the township really wants to acquire part of that property, if not all of it, and so they pass an overlay, and that's okay. Right?
At the time the overlay is passed, I mean, I don't know. I know you've told me, and Jackie has said that Mayor Weldon wanted to purchase the whole property. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if that was possible or not. What I do know is that at the time they purchased, the town purchased the 40 acres, I believe, and I don't have my sheet in front of me anymore. But at the time they purchased that 40 acres was at the same time that the other property was being sold to the Stop and Shop. So I don't see where they were looking to buy the whole thing. And it may very well have been that the cost would have been prohibitive.
Well, what gets to me is that if they changed the overlay and it was okay for the Stop and Shop then to come in and build, all right, because the
Right.
zoning has changed, everybody agreed
They
that
created the overlay
they
zone.
created, why does the lawyer why does the attorney get involved? I can't make that connection. I mean, so because then he resigns, all right, the attorney resigns because this is after, and he forms a group. No,
Timing is all wrong. The attorney resigned before the overlay zone was created. The attorney resigned, and we're talking about Mr. Zarrow, resigned in either late '99 or early 2000. And again, I don't have the dates in front of me anymore. The overlay zone comes after that. Okay, and then he is part of a group that makes an application about a year or more later for approvals, and then he then sells it to the Stop and Shop. But it's not him. He's a 20%. I don't remember the numbers.
it was 60-20-20. It's Fenton.
Right, 20% owner of an entity that ended up having a contract to purchase the property from the Turner estate.
Well, what I'm not getting, if the overlay is changed, all
Oh,
right,
thank
and Stop and Shop can then apply, just as Paramount is applying, why do you have the other group getting involved in that?
Why do you have a what?
Why do you have the other group getting involved in that?
Well, I'm guessing that they were involved maybe before the Stop and Shop, and then they got the Stop and Shop involved. But I really don't know that.
Okay,
But my guess would be that they got involved, and then they got the Stop and Shop entities involved. after they
They
were
don't seem
contract.
necessary to me.
Excuse me?
They wouldn't seem necessary.
Well, you know, there's middlemen. I don't know. We seem to have them all over the place. Are they necessary?
Well, you said.
Who knows?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and try to. Tom's having a hard time hearing us. We really got to be like about 3 inches from that mic. Thank you, Doc. Good seeing you. Have a good evening, sir. Best if you stand up. We're
You can't do
we're
that.
yielding to the elderly, but if you, what are you doing,
Easier if you
Peter?
stand up.
Peter, you got to stand up and you got to talk into the microphone.
Yeah. Well, everybody really protocols. You all should be standing up. We allowed Mrs. Hudson to sit down, and yeah, this show requires you to stand up. We have a new producer, and I think I don't know why, but
The gentleman came down and asked you to stand up and speak to the microphone because he's
we're
not
just
picking
trying to
up
accommodate
anything.
Tom.
You're going to be asking us for a copy of recordings and we're going to
Oh,
have nothing.
disability.
Have a seat.
That's not.
There you
You
go.
guys have any tape?
No.
No.
MacGyver does. There we go.
Okay, how's that?
Till it falls.
Whatever
it's
makes you
great.
happy. We're here to make you happy.
Okay, so I looked at the agenda. I see here we had items for discussion in the environmental update. That didn't happen. You're going to reschedule that, right?
State your
Excuse
name
me?
and address.
Oh,
Peter Young, 610 Deal Road.
yeah, we may reschedule that one.
Okay. You had a closed session. You had litigation for COA.
Yep.
It was discussed. Is there like a case number for that so I can?
For COA?
Yeah. Is there like
I'm
a
sure
current-
there's a
current
case number.
pending-
What it is right now, I have no idea.
Okay.
But it's one of probably 30 lawsuits in Monmouth County, all dealing with different municipalities
Okay.
and COA. They're all consolidated for certain purposes.
So it's not just the Township Council on that
Now, well,
litigation.
we are dealing with our own
Some of us.
portion of it. But there's a whole bunch of towns that are involved in lawsuits with COA, involving 8% Mount Laurel Housing.
Are there any urgencies like with that, or is it just going to go on and on and on?
Well, I think
Something-
we're sort of coming close to maybe something happening, but exactly what I am involved, but we have a specific COA council who handles the day-to-day matters.
Okay, the second item was the litigation was Stop and Shop.
Yeah, nothing was really discussed related to that, although I did announce last time that the trial, which was at one point scheduled for February 28th, that is going to be dismissed, that we're going to, in essence, if it's not resolved, they will refile a complaint in September.
And how are you resolving that? Is there some kind of discussion of a settlement?
Well, the only discussion is wait to see what happens with the pending rezoning and the application by the current contract purchaser.
Rezoning would end the litigation, Peter, if that's your question.
Is there any kind of settlement agreement being discussed?
There's no settlement agreement at this point until we determine what happens in terms of the existing zoning.
So council and planning board, take steps to change zoning, and then that flows into a settlement agreement?
Potentially.
And what
Well, the
happens?
settlement agreement would just be, they wouldn't refile a complaint. That would be basically, if they're able to develop the property, then they won't refile a complaint. That would be the end of the case.
If Paramount is able to do that, not if Stop
Well,
and
it
Shop.
doesn't necessarily have to be Paramount, but whoever it is that ends up purchasing the property from the Stop and Shop entities, if there's a satisfactory resolution, then they won't refile the complaint. The case would be over.
I think what's happening is, Peter, people are confused in the fact that Paramount has this application in, and we keep shrinking the zoning or the ordinance zone in there to mirror what they offer to put in. So it's never more than that. So when he says, well, if we develop it, we'll have a 240-foot buffer along the north border. Great, we're putting that in the ordinance. No matter who developed it, they can't have more than that. And if we develop it, we want to have a 100-foot setback between the library. Perfect. And the eastern line, we want 100. So if we change the zoning, and the next day he decides he's not doing it because he's not doing Eatontown, just not going to develop here, somebody has to build within those parameters, which is not a bad thing for the town. It's a lot better than what's ever been there before.
So that could be Stop and Shop.
Stop and Shop probably couldn't develop the way we would be rezoning it.
The current owners of the property.
Yeah, but they couldn't
pending
develop with a
lawsuit.
shopping center, a supermarket, the way it would be rezoned, because first of all, there's a limit on the box size of, I think, 30,000 is the maximum. And that doesn't conform to what a supermarket, they want 100,000 square feet now for a box.
Plus, when they were developing it, the entire site was a commercial site. And as the mayor said, with a substantially larger impervious coverage.
So if the ordinance that you're proposing passes, then everything goes away without a settlement. Otherwise, they refile to September.
In other words, if the matter is resolved, if the property is being developed, then there's no refiling of the complaint. If, on the other hand, something changes, whatever, they have until September to refile their complaint.
So I'm trying to go to like law school at night and land use zoning and planner school
Why
at
would
night
anybody do that?
to try and understand these things.
Okay.
Because when you read the legal document, case number 305 CV 03469, it looks like Stop and Shop really is alleging that they still feel very strongly that they can proceed
Absolutely.
with building what was in the commercial overlay, and that something had happened, with the food town to sort of
The
interfere with
complaint-
that. Like they mention that a lot.
Their complaint that they filed beginning in probably 2005 has remained consistent in the various different filings of the complaint. So, yes, the complaint's the same as it always has been, pretty much.
So why would they go away with a zoning change to C7 from C6? Why wouldn't they just press their case for C6?
I think you'll have to ask them. Because perhaps they think this is a better resolution for them, but that's up to them.
So I have to ask them how a resolution to go from C6 to C7 will have them resolve with you guys their lawsuit against you.
Their
against the
lawsuit
town.
against us would be probably resolved because they would then be selling the property to the new purchaser, which would, at this point, be Paramount or somebody else.
So Maurice at the high school presentation said he had the bid on the property, period.
He's a contract purchaser.
It's a contract purchase.
Means he has a first right of refusal. They can't entertain offers. Usually put language in their contract that they can't entertain other offers for 6-12 months. He buys time with them.
Typically, when you enter into a contract to purchase a piece of property that you're going to develop it, you make it subject to your being able to develop the property. So people don't usually buy a piece of property and then find out, oops, I can't develop it the way I thought. They usually make it subject to and contingent upon approvals.
Is that technically a settlement or just it's not a settlement with Stop and Shop in the Township and Paramount? Is it something
The
going to be...
relationship between Paramount and Stop and Shop is not, we're not directly involved in that relationship. We don't have the contract. That's between the two of them. Our lawsuit is with Stop and Shop, and the current potential applicant would be Paramount.
So the judge that you and Stop and Shop see together in your lawsuit, does that judge see that, other part of Paramount's proposal to, we'll buy it if the Township Council makes the zoning change, and then, like the things are sort of linked, but does that get into the settlement?
Not now, not at this point.
But it will.
Actually, I think ultimately, I don't know. At this point, we're going to wait to see what happens, or they're going to wait to see what happens, actually, regarding Paramount, whether Paramount purchased the property. If Paramount purchases the property, then they don't file a new lawsuit, and our case is over.
Okay. And that's your urgency, Chris. Why you have to pass this
My urgency?
March 8th.
Well, urgency's been about 12 years, so I wouldn't hardly call it urgency. But at this time, I think moving along into, they're ready to litigate, and I think that's got a little bit of urgency to it. Yeah, sure.
I think the other issue is, from Paramount's perspective, I think they've been involved in this for a period of time. I don't know how long. So it's not like, they started in February or January. It's gone through a whole bunch of different changes. They've reduced it. So they're ready to proceed or potentially not proceed.
Okay. So my other question, that was kind of substantive. I want to understand the zoning change to C7 from C6, which is what 2303 does, right? The reason why we feel to do that now has to do with the litigation.
Well, I think it has to do with a couple of things. I think the litigation is certainly a factor, because that would end the litigation. But I think in addition, if you look at C6 and you look at C7, and you look at the two potential ways to develop it, this is a much better way for the town to develop the property than what is currently in existence, and provides greater buffers, provides less commercial, provides more open space, and I think
Road improvements.
Numerous, which are in both, but the bottom line is there are substantial benefits from this potential zoning compared to what is currently.
And it's a lot greener. Which
right, more open space and green.
A lot more green.
Listen, many of the things we're talking about could be argued.
Everything could be argued,
different
Peter.
ways.
Anything,
And,
of course, could be argued.
Back to the procedural part of my questions. The planning board meeting on November 8th. We were told, I believe, here at council meetings, go there, and that was the place.
No,
that
so
we would
here
be
I think
allowed
the
to speak, or was that a misunderstanding?
No, very big misunderstanding. That all along I've said, and I've watched the tape over and over and over, that at a planning board hearing on an application is when you'll have a time to speak. On a planning board hearing for an application, that was not an application. That November 8th, that was just a for them to look at the master plan to see if a zone change was consistent with the master plan. There's no public hearing on something like that. Never was, probably never will be. That's procedure there. I think inadvertently, he's not here, Deputy Mayor Achara mentioned to go to that meeting, and I think, and he realizes his error. He made you think to go there and you'd have a chance to be heard. So we apologize for that. That was just a misstatement. He meant no harm by it. When there's an application, there'll be an opportunity for you to have a public hearing on that. That's what it's all about. There's always an opportunity.
There's two public hearings. There's a public hearing on the zoning ordinance, and then a public hearing where there'll be more like a trial or whatever, but any kind of hearing before the planning board. People have been to planning board hearings. And it's, that's where people get to state their objections in terms of the application. Also
So
present
that would be
witnesses.
the March 8th meeting. That's the
March
open-
8th meeting is the amendment to the zoning ordinance.
That's when
That's a public hearing.
on
Try to
2303.
get up and speak. But the hearing before the planning board is where the board takes testimony, listens to witnesses both on behalf of the applicant, and if the objectors have witnesses, they can introduce testimony from those witnesses.
So under municipal law, all those sections I'm trying to figure out, the open hearing is on March 8th.
For a zoning change.
Zone change.
Yes, we're having a public hearing on 2303 March 8th. Then if, in fact, a planning board application is presented for that property, then they'll have a planning board hearing at whatever date they decide. But anything else...
Any other experts to testify at the March 8th meeting? Could I, as
Sure.
just myself and...
Whatever army you'd like to bring, Peter.
And that's going to be the place for it?
Sure.
Well, no.
No, that's
that
for...
would be...
That's for the zoning.
Look, here's the bottom line. And I realize you're not a lawyer, but you can hire a lawyer. Wherever you determine is the place for it, you can bring people here, you can bring people there, you can bring people to both. That's your determination to make. I'm not necessarily here to advise you as to where you're best served having someone come. That's up to you and whatever professionals you discuss it with.
Well, I guess what I'm concerned about is kind of what I was told and when I'm studying is like due process. Where's my due process to speak?
Well, we've had due process. I've been hearing about this for about 5 meetings, 6 meetings, 10 meetings.
This year.
So there's plenty of due process, and there hasn't been a vote. And now there's going to be a vote on March 8th on the zoning change, and your due process is to come in and talk.
Okay. And then after you guys vote on March 8th, does it go back to the planning board?
No.
After the vote on March 8th, then to the extent the applicant decides to make an application for the planning board, he makes an application, there's notice, and there's a hearing before the planning board.
If there's an application put.
Right.
Well, we're probably pretty sure there's going to be an application.
I think it's a good assumption.
Yeah. So the next step then is the March 8th vote. And then the next step is the planning board application.
Right.
And then another hearing in front of the planning board where due process is served. The ordinance is already passed. How do we challenge the zoning ordinance? We have our 45 days after you pass it on March 8th?
You have the right to file appeals from whether it's a zone change or the approval of the planning board or whatever. There's certain rights to appeal decisions made, certainly.
So I would become an intervener, and I would go and
Once
file
again, I
at
think what you
Monmouth.
need to do is speak with a lawyer and decide what's the way you want to handle this. You have 45 days after the passage of an ordinance to appeal an ordinance. So talk to a lawyer and see what they think.
Well, they might say, can you try and seek some compromise with the Township Council? Have you talked about ideas? Maybe the council can, use open space funds and take 5 or 10 acres and create more buffering than the ordinance. Is the council open to compromise, or are they really just dead on?
No, here's the thing,
No,
Peter.
the township is clearly not open to compromise based on the fact that it was over here 3 months ago in terms of the percentage of development, the percentage of open space, etc., and now it's down to here. So clearly there's been substantial compromises, not by the township, which is always looking for the best for the taxpayers and for the town, but also by the developer who's substantially reduced his project. In addition, as I've said last time, going through a long history, when this property was subdivided, the township got 40 acres out of 70 plus acres. So the township received a percentage. People seem to want to forget that. That's yesterday's news. But that's what happened. And the idea was the other portion of the property was going to be developed. But
I brought it up. I see you compromised and Paramount compromised. But I was trying to make the case that if I was another intervener, any chance of getting any compromise with the council for me as an intervener in our community group? I don't really care about how happy Paramount is or how happy you are. I wanted to certainly in a way can we compromise on some other things?
But ultimately, if Paramount is not willing to compromise or has gotten to this point with all the compromises it's made, there comes a point where they just walk away, and then you're happy you don't think it gets developed, but the next thing may be worse, number one, and number two, then we're back in the litigation. So be careful what you wish for.
Them walking away doesn't stop it from being developed. Us changing the ordinance doesn't stop it from being developed. Peter.
All right, but there's, I was looking at the amendments. I finally figured out how to get on your website and go through all those folders, and you have some company code source that put all the land use stuff up there. So it's not exactly like the electronic copy of the master plan that we talked about a month ago. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether we're ever going to see that.
Yeah, it'll be up tomorrow. Oh, the master plan. No, the ordinance, I'm sorry, the 2303 revisions will be up tomorrow.
All right, we're not going to scan the whole master plan and put it somewhere.
No, Ron Kirk, our new community development coordinator, said he's working on getting the entire master plan up on the website. It's a copious document.
Well, you saw I started looking through it. I'm going to go back and look through it again. It's a really nice document, actually. Got a lot of maps and all kinds of things. Some are on your website now. So you have a list of amendments on the website now.
Okay.
Right, and you can go back, and it has all the land use designations, and that corner property was office research.
Okay.
In the 1992 plan.
Office industrial, OI 80.
Right, and it had uses.
Yes.
So, when I looked at those uses, here, permitted uses, and I'm not going to read them all. There's no hotel. It's a restaurant, travel agency, tailor, candy store. You know, kind of, little retail uses, right? No hotel. That's pretty clear.
Yeah.
It's posted on your website. No gas station.
No, there is a gas station.
There's always been a gas station as a,
Gas station is permitted in the OI 80 zone because the OI 80 zone allows any use that's allowed in I don't remember now if it's L1 or I1 zone, which is the light industrial zone. And that would permit a gas station as a conditionally permitted use.
But when I'm looking at 241-42.1 permitted uses, I don't see that. It's not posted.
Well, it's posted.
Can you... Why when I download this, I don't see that?
Well, I'm not sure what you downloaded. I don't know what you're looking at, but in the one that I looked at that was in effect at the time, it used to be the office industrial 80 zone. It also had a provision that any use permitted in the, I think, L1 zone
permitted in L1.
or maybe I1, isn't that
It's
I1?
either I1 or L1.
Industrial one?
I think L1 might have been light industrial zone.
Okay.
So that's the gas station use.
And under L1, I think a gas station is permitted as a conditional use.
Now, do you think a gas station use in an O1, which is research and office, is that a little inconsistent with uses? Like, why would you need a gas station in that kind of use?
Well,
Clearly, if you had like a commercial use gas station.
Peter, you're trying a case here of an old zone that no longer exists. I don't know why you're trying a case here.
and
We're going to have
clearly
a
in
public
an
hearing on the
industrial zone,
ordinance March
gas
8th.
station is
That's when you need to come in.
that might be in an industrial zone. We're talking about Route 35. I think if you drove up and down Route 35, you'd probably find a couple of gas stations. So I think gas stations are something that would be
Consistent.
with that zone.
Right, but you're not a professional planner either, and neither am I.
But he did stay at a Holiday Inn last night.
I did serve 14 years as the planning board attorney in Ocean, and I'm still the planning board attorney in Long Branch. So I know a little bit about planning, but not that much. But I'm not a planner. You're correct.
You got to help me with my homework.
No, I think you got to hire somebody to help you with your homework.
He's helping us.
That's right. I'm on this team.
So block 33, lot 17 on the list of amendments changes with ordinance 1880 on 11001.
Okay.
All right, and that's the commercial development option overlay.
Okay.
I can't find anywhere, and maybe I'm just struggling with how difficult it is to navigate all those folders, uses that go with commercial overlay.
I believe, and I'm not positive, they were all commercial under that zone, were all commercial uses allowed in the C2 zone. But I'm not sitting here right now. I can't tell you 100%, but I believe that was correct.
Okay, so we went from 0180 to C2 to C6, now we're going to C7. What if I wanted to propose C8? How would I go about doing that with the Township Council? Can I intervene?
Are you the owner of the property? Yes. I mean, basically, you don't get to necessarily propose the zone. When it comes in here on March 8th and you want to oppose or testify or give your comments, we'll listen to your comments. But like I said, you tell us that you haven't had your due process. We've been talking about this issue for I don't know how many meetings, and there's been substantial changes by the applicant in terms of what he was building, reducing the number of units, increasing the green on the property, increasing the impervious surface. So clearly, there have been discussions, and whatever efforts there were got to a point where there have been substantial changes.
Due process for me is not. I was never a participant in any of those discussions with any of those parties.
You were here.
All
I've seen
right.
you at many meetings.
And technically, like Chris points out, it's a hearing, and that's where you can or cannot. So we could talk at the high school 2, 3, 4 times with everybody, but it's not due process. The only time for due process is, it sounds like the March 8th meeting, you have, as a council, have to let us present our opposition.
Well, you're gonna
That's
be,
the due process I'm talking about.
well,
The rest
you're
is all kind of
certainly-
presentations.
At a council meeting, you're certainly going to be able to speak, just like you've been speaking today, and you're certainly going to be able to speak and state your opposition, state your position. There may be limitations imposed, I don't know, but the bottom line is it'll depend on how many people here. But you're going to be able to speak about the ordinance and your concerns.
For how long?
Depends. If we have a full room, we're going to have a limit of 3 minutes for each person to go around at least once. And then
That's very arbitrary.
I don't know how many people are going to be here, Peter. We're not going to inconvenience folks who might want to be heard. And there's 100 people here, and somebody's going on a long harangue or prattling on for 38 minutes. We're not going to have that. We're going to have you get your thoughts together if that's the case. If it's 5 of us, I'm very patient. I don't think anybody can argue that. I'm extremely patient.
There are many towns.
I get in trouble when I go home. Lisa asks, how come you're not that patient at home?
There are many towns that have.
Because they wear me out here. No, because...
There are many towns that have time limitations at every meeting.
Right.
We have not imposed that, but at certain instances, we might have to.
Right, when we have a full room, we do ask folks to be considerate, get your thoughts together, have a 3-minute presentation, have one bite of the apple, and if we have time, we'll go around again.
I was talking to somebody in like a bigger town in New Jersey. They said that they went till like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that's their...
And everybody didn't get a chance to talk, and then the council said, well, we'll just let this slide and we'll have another meeting so everybody else gets a chance to talk. And, everything went on like this
Right.
does for years and years and years. But that's the due process.
Right.
Right? To rush it.
Nobody's rushing. Listen, Peter.
How long
When
have
I-
you been talking so far today?
Yeah, when I first got on council,
Haven't
Peter,
rushed it today.
and you
so
guys were here,
Get all your points out.
Pete, when I first got on council, every meeting was till midnight. Every single meeting in 2003 went until 11 to midnight. Every one. Until the Stop and Shop thing went away. Every one. Getting out at 8:30 was an anomaly. I couldn't believe it. You'll have a chance, perhaps. There's a filibuster going on, young lady. You'll have to wait. No, I'm teasing.
No,
We'll have a nice
you guys are
conversation,
really,
Joni. Stick
you guys
around.
are really funny, and sometimes you're informative.
Yeah, no, we don't cut people off. When there's
Sometimes
only a
you
few
do
people, we
make
let
us
you
feel
go on.
like you're cutting us off. I mean,
No,
that's what it feels like on this side of the mic.
No, I think because sometimes, not that we're anticipating what you're going to say, sometimes it's redundant, we've heard it before, or you're going to go from here to there to tell me you don't want this. I know you don't want this, tell me you don't want that, and then we'll discuss it. Just get right to it.
That's what I tried to do tonight.
Yeah,
we
you
went
don't
from
want us to
one
change the zoning.
zone-
I got it. So come in and make a good cogent argument on March 8th why we shouldn't, and we'll weigh as a judicial body from advice from our attorney versus what we hear from the public, and then we'll have to make a decision there on the spot how we feel about it and if it's something that we can do or not.
Why can't you have a little bit more deliberative time?
We've
Why
had
you have
a lot of time to think about it between now and then. So unless there's some really big bombshell that you're going to drop on us, we're going to listen to you. But I'm saying we've had a lot of time to deliberate about this since 2005. And so we kind of have an idea. Our goal is now to put the town in the best possible position and shrink any possible construction or development of that property into the smartest, greenest growth that we can. And I think collectively we've been doing that. And we've done that. We've had several iterations of a proposed plan on that property. We shrunk it and shrunk it. Frankly, from a developer's perspective, there's no more meat on that bone. So it's the best we're going to get.
But
And to
it's
say,
all
Peter,
council and developer driven.
no. But here's the thing: an open space tax. We want to take 10 acres of it. Well, now he doesn't want to develop it anymore. We're still open to a lawsuit on the rest of it, or perhaps we're still open to a fair share housing law. You don't understand. It's valuable to him the way it is. In the event he gets turned down at the planning board, this open space tax kicks in. Now we're going to need it. Then we're going to have to use
that
it.
is new. 2005 was a long time ago, and this
That's
is
what I'm
new.
saying.
Now you actually have an open space fund.
Right.
Peter, the council here, not me, I don't represent anybody except the council, but the council represents an entire town. Now, I gotta tell you, I'm sure council members have been hearing from people who say, I want the Wawa.
Supportive of it.
I want this developed. Why can't this get developed? You live across the street, you don't want it developed, I get it. You want the tree canopy, I get it. The bottom line, the only way, and I've had this conversation with Jackie, the only way to make you happy is to say it's going to stay the way it is. Okay? And when we talk about...
Well, I don't know whether I would agree with that. I actually contradicted what you just said earlier and said I would propose a whole new zoning, C8, that compromised with you a little differently.
Okay.
So you need to be very careful, too, that you don't misunderstand what I say, just like I sometimes misunderstand what, you guys say. I didn't say that.
I haven't really, like you said, you haven't really spoken that much before. Certainly Jackie has, and certainly it's pretty clear that her issue is she wants it to remain the way it is. The bottom line here is that we have made a lot of changes. The developer has made substantial changes, and we are where we're at, and we'll hear it on March 8th in terms of the zoning change.
One last question. For now.
That's fine.
You've all been pretty gracious with letting me talk for what's a long time, right?
Nah, it's not so big.
Oh, it's only 8:15.
Hey,
We're on the schedule to 9?
we're on this. We have no schedule, Peter.
Oh, okay. I thought on the agenda it said we're here till 9.
Oh, did you put that on,
I
Ben?
have to put an end date, otherwise it
you-
doesn't let me put the meeting on the
You're
website.
getting a raise.
So I
So
figured
there's a
2
lot
hours.
of this
Hey,
kind of
Gary.
fear going on, like we could get worse. Or we'll have some
We're not.
financial liability if this litigation goes a certain way.
Right.
What's the potential financial liability in the township versus Stop and Shop? Are they going to say you owe us all our fees for suing you?
He's not going to make any case for them. He's not going to tell you from here what they could possibly get, because we can possibly get. That's a jumping off point. You understand? It's a negotiation once the attorneys get locked into a courtroom. So for him to tell you or to guess or speculate, could be this million, that million, he'll say it could be 50 cents because that would be the jumping off point for them to sue us for.
Okay.
You follow?
Fair enough.
You
So
understand
it's
that?
some amount. We don't have to nail it down.
Mm-hmm. Be an amount.
Could be 50 cents, or it could be
We're hoping 50 cents if we lose.
could be
Then we move
$500,000.
on and buy it and be on our
Could
merry
be
way.
anywhere from, obviously we would take the position they're not entitled to anything. They would take the position they're entitled to about $15 million altogether, probably.
So we kind of
So somewhere between those two.
thought about some numbers in having a position with them. $15 million.
Oh, I'm just pointing out. I
One
don't know
more.
what their demand would
I
be.
don't want to say, but
Do we have some sort of liability insurance as a township for these kinds of events?
except for negligence, which this could be.
No, this is a zoning issue.
No, I'm saying if we failed to act,
Yeah.
and according to our attorney's request, almost like one other issue we had before, they would bail out and say, we're not covering that because you were advised to do this and you didn't do it. We're not paying you anything.
So would insurance cover that cost?
No. No, they would not.
So your insurance, when you get sued, there's never been any insurance that's covered any lawsuits that the township has had to
I'm
settle?
saying that. That's not
You
what
didn't,
I'm
you didn't
saying.
hear what I said. If we don't take the advice of our attorney or even the insurance company attorney and we go in a different direction and there's an enormous lawsuit against us, they're not going to cover it because we didn't take their advice. That's what I'm saying. If we take their advice and then there's a situation, somehow we still get sued, that's what the insurance is for.
So we've already, as a township council or body, whatever it is, we've already had conversations with the insurance company's lawyers?
There's no insurance coverage on this claim.
There is none.
No. We had insurance coverage when the complaint was initially filed. The counts, when I say initially filed, that was initially filed in federal court. The counts related to that were dismissed, and now we're here on issues that there would be no insurance on.
So you would have to appropriate funds, or if you don't have the funds, you'd have to get a bond and make that payment directly.
You are correct, sir.
And that's kind of a little scary to have gotten to this place over 15 years.
Right.
That's $1 million a year. When did the insurance change?
Now you're taking a number. I just threw out a number to just give you something.
5 cents.
The bottom line here is that the insurance would not cover this type of claim at this point.
All right, so we're going to come back on March
8th.
At
Yep.
what time?
At 9:30. I'm sorry, 7 o'clock. 7 p.m.
And
You're here
is,
at 7, we're starting at 3:30.
and is there a workshop earlier in the day that you
Yes,
said
5
you were
o'clock is
invited
open.
to attend?
5 o'clock.
And when will we know what the agenda is for that? Is it going to be posted on
It'll
the
be
town
posted ahead of
website?
time. Yep. A couple days in advance.
It's
Days
on
in
the-
advance.
Right, but the crux of it, the ordinance revisions from what was introduced to what's proposed for a hearing, that will be up tomorrow afternoon by the end of the day. We'll have that up for you. So you can see where we've required the gratuitous buffering, things like that, reducing the number of pumps, etc., setbacks, all that. Okay?
So then March 8th, we're going to get 3 minutes per person.
You might have 33 minutes. You might have 3 hours. I don't know. If there's 4 of you here, you'll have the whole night, Peter. Till 11 o'clock.
I'm hoping there's more people here. I've got a sign up in my yard that I'm
An illegal
threatened
sign,
about
incidentally,
taking
that
down. It's the
ille-
only way I have to organize
Peter,
the opposition.
no, listen to me. A sign's okay. Your sign violates the ordinance. It's too big. I've told Jackie numerous times. 2 by 3 is the allowed sign. And any message you want. First Amendment right, we're not going to dispute that. As long as you have my name on there, it's good publicity. But it's the size of the sign.
Your name was pretty big.
I love that. That's the only reason we haven't gotten to you yet. No, I'm not. No, I think you've received 2 notices now, so action will be taken. Just like we did to Councilman Napolitani when his sign was in
Yes, I had
the
the orange sticker slapped.
He got a
on
red sticker
regular
on his.
sign that was allowed up.
We had to slap his ears back,
Cut it up too long.
Had it up too long, and got slapped with a sticker
and I couldn't call it off. It's
and a
just-
second notice like this one.
Would you be willing to yield since there are people that still want to speak?
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry.
Okay, thanks, Peter. Good to hear from you again. Coming up to the microphone, Joni. State your name and address for the record.
Joan Desmarais, 1633 Melville Street. I can't hear myself. I hope you
Yeah,
can.
get as close as you can, because that's our makeshift mic.
My question, I guess, I know, I've been here at the other meeting, so I'm caught up to where we're at this point. I know the meeting for the zoning change is March 8th, right? The zoning change is voted in by the council, right?
Right.
So is there any concern that because we are in the lawsuit, and unfortunately, you're in the lawsuit, and so are you.
Right.
Is it okay then that you can vote on the?
I don't know. I was going to talk to my attorney. I may abstain from voting myself personally on it.
Because then there
since
could
I'm
also
named.
be some concern that Mr. Orbis is advising council when he's also named.
Well, he's the attorney. That's not.
I'm not named in the suit.
Oh, I thought I saw that you were, as the planning board attorney.
No, my name's not in the suit.
Okay, I stand corrected, I apologize.
I'm not named. I'm mentioned. I'm not named. I'm mentioned.
I don't think the
Well,
individual people are
There are individual names in the lawsuit
Yeah,
that's
my
online.
name's
so
in
if
there.
what I'm reading is
So-
incorrect, but I guess my concern is that if it's that way, and as a public official, if there could be some
Yeah,
issue
I was
there.
going to
He would still be able. Well, we'll talk.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it. So.
Only because then we don't want to have another problem.
No, I
Say,
thought about
"Oh, well,
it. Yeah,
that
you don't want it
wasn't-"
challenged because absolutely, I get that.
And that could cost you even more money.
I may take precautions on that, but we'll see. We've
And so
talked
now, I guess if the ordinance passes for the rezone,
Right.
and then we proceed to, and if it passes, then the developer can come in and make their application to the zone, to the planning board, as you already had said. That does perhaps make the lawsuit go away, if that's for lack of a better term. The lawsuit will go away if if it passes and the property is sold
Right,
to
I mean,
Paramount.
Once the property is.
Property has to be sold.
I don't know what their contract says, so I can't tell you.
Okay.
When that's finalized. That's in
So
their
if the
contract.
property is sold, and I wasn't sure I understood, is there still a chance that even if that all occurs, that Stop and Shop won't want to
Damages?
come back for damages?
It's possible. I think Mr. Arbus will make a case. Look, you have your sale. You've consummated a sale. We're asking you to dismiss the charges. I'm sure he's going to do that.
I'm just surprised they would go away so easily.
Well, don't
I'm a
forget-
little suspicious of them just agreeing
Well,
to a sale and then.
like I
moving
said,
on.
the problem with public meetings are that people have people everywhere, and I think from the yeshiva you found that out. They got the tapes from our public meeting and used
Oh, yeah, I'm not
statements
asking
like this
you to give me
against us.
specifics.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
If
I'm
that's a
just
great idea,
surprised
we'll do that.
You know, that is a liability to the town, and as a taxpayer, that's where I'm coming
Mhm.
from. The development, I understand all that. It's gonna, you know,
We're
there
gonna
is a
do
it's
the
right
best-
on the highway. I live right there. Trust me. You know, I want it to be reasonable.
Best it can be, right.
But
I heard from a lot of people from your neighborhood that say the exact same thing, that they're okay with it, just get the best you can.
well, you know, the buffer's good.
Yeah.
You know, I just, you know, the other part of it is that with all this stuff, with all this other, the lawsuit, and it still may be a
Scary.
financial liability to the township. And as
Yes.
a taxpayer, that's more concerning to me. You know,
Yes.
if that's not.
We're hoping that, and we're confident that we'll be able to negotiate that away, that we'll ask them to dismiss the case now that they have a buyer for it, whether it's this buyer or another buyer, a buyer that's willing to develop it. And that's their goal. So in our mind, that should satisfy the lawsuit.
And I know there's a lot of talk about the size of the development. Are we at the smallest size that we could be at?
As skinny as can
over
be.
the long history of
Yes.
When we started,
talk about this?
I think when we started,
I
and
forget, I've
Chris,
lost
you can
track.
tell me what the number was. I believe the residential part was 240 or
245 units, just on the residential,
It's now 68.
and 145,000 on the commercial, which is down to about 70, half of that. Our impervious coverage was 90%, and it's down to about 51 or 52, which is unheard of. The buffering, you know, worked on it a lot. You know, this has been several years of, you know, the first couple of me just saying, no way, you're not bringing that in, or, you know, that kind of thing. So it's been a lot of work. Look, Joni, you know,
There's a lot to be done.
our
I mean,
position
obviously
is-
the traffic has to be resolved.
right, to put the town in the best possible position. None of us want to hurt the town. We live here.
Right, and like
None
you
of us
said-
would do
And
anything to
that's-
hurt this
that's the
town.
point also was that one of the main considerations when the zoning was originally
Mr.
done
Michelle doesn't care.
was the traffic, was the, you know, the idea of
I remember.
that time of slip road and then the jug handle. Now it's gonna be a widening of a hill road so that people can make a right turn. Those were all major considerations that the town wanted to develop.
And a lot of those arguments, again, traffic and more green and buffer, will come up again at the planning board. I mean, we've got it to where we could, you know.
Yeah, my concerns were mostly the litigation
backlash,
with regard
yeah.
to the cost to the town, because
Yeah, we think about it all the time.
significant if it didn't go our way from a taxpayer perspective.
Right.
And I do want to comment, I did see that there's action on West Park. I saw on the county, as a disclosure, I'm a county employee. I saw on the county website, on the board, you know, on the agenda from the minutes, that they've passed their resolution to proceed there to widen that road.
Yeah,
So
we've been working with them, and
I
Joe
appreciate
Attore, your county engineer, has been very helpful, and all of them have been.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else that hasn't been heard from yet that wants to be heard? Ed, do you have anything for us? You just came to, congratulations on your appointment to the our newest planning board member, Ed
You
DeFilia.
can't-
So we just wanted to say that was on the agenda tonight. So you're dismissed if you want to go, Ed.
Okay. You know, this is all very well. You have all these complications. And if you bought this property, if we could find a way,
Mhm.
then we wouldn't have had all these complications.
We'd still have
Yeah,
some.
All right. So, what we have heard all this time is promotion for this and all the wonderful reasons why you should do it.
Mhm.
All right, and that may be true. But there is another side that's never been discussed, and I have discussed it with very brilliant people who talk. For instance, a hotel. That is not a desirable thing to have in the middle of your community. There's all kinds of things that could happen. I don't think people realize this.
Like what?
And, well, for instance, if they got in trouble, if they failed, and they contact social services, this is
No,
what
he
they
was
do.
putting a
Wait-
deed
wait a minute.
restriction. No, wait a minute. You brought it up. He's putting a deed restriction in there that it won't go that way.
Well, let's hear the other side. All we
Okay.
hear is all this wonderful thing. And listen, if it's as wonderful and this is our only way, we like these guys. And we're, you know,
Right. We're not promoting it, Mrs. Hudson.
If
We're
we
not promoting
promote-
any of this. And I know you like to drive that point home, and there's three other people that like to drive that point home. It's not happening.
Why are we going to two developers meeting, presenting? You know, they're
You're lucky you had
they're
two.
Promoting it.
You had two?
They're promoting it.
I did it for the benefit of the public.
Why can't we hear a true debate? There
Come
are
to the
many-
planning board meeting, you'll hear a debate. Anybody else have anything?
That it's too late when it goes to the planning board. I've never seen
Okay.
anything.
Well, I'm
refused
saying
at the
you're
planning board,
trying to
all right?
debate something.
You have to have a whole developed two-sided thing. I might end up, if I hear everything, I might end up saying, gee, this is wonderful, let's have it.
Okay.
But that is exactly what has been missing.
What's that?
Hear the other side from intelligent people that might have.
Thank
really
you for
good-
the insult. I thought some of us were intelligent up here.
Come on, you're intelligent.
Beam
on
me
your
up, Scotty.
side.
No
There's
intelligent life
another
form here.
side. There's
For the
another
last
side.
3 months,
Get me outta
Mrs.
here.
Hudson, at least 3 months, people have been coming in here and voicing their opinions. You,
How many?
Jackie, well, I can't help it that nobody else comes.
Does that
We
ever
invite
occur to you-
everybody. It's on the sign.
If
Lack
we
of
argued-
opposition
if we argued that you
means
needed
something?
to email them and let them know what is happening. Nobody comes.
Mrs.
People are busy.
Hudson.
They don't come to these
Mrs.
meetings.
Hudson, let me, in all due respect,
Interested.
this has been, more people know about it than anybody. It's been shared on social media numerous times, on big Facebook pages. Thousands of people have shared it, meaning thousands more know about it. I mean, there
If
comes a
that's the
point,
case, and they listen.
and this is what we're getting.
Democracy. If they want it, they should have it.
Right.
If they agree,
Did-
I agree.
Do you ever hear of
I
the
don't
silent
think
majority?
It's been fair.
I
don't
see
think that
it.
it's been
I'm
fair.
looking at the silent majority.
Mrs. Hudson, did you attend the informational
See 'em.
session that he held?
Which one? Who?
The one that the developer held?
Two of them.
You went to both of them. Did you
Yes.
notice that there were about 120 people in that audience?
Half of them were for it.
No, more than half were for it because I looked around. I was there. I was in the back, even though someone
Well,
said there
before
wasn't
my
one.
neighbors were
Hold
there
on a
and they
second.
didn't
Even
speak
though
up.
they said that there wasn't one council person there, myself and the mayor were there.
I was there
Okay.
as well.
You did not.
I
conduct the
sat.
meeting.
I sat in the back. I wanted to see exactly how much opposition was out there. Now, I've also received numerous letters from residents in support of this right now. I'll tell you what, this has been going around and around in a circle for over a year that I've sat on council. Now, I also sat on the zoning board for 3.5 years. I've seen numerous projects go through. I also sat on the Deal Lake Commission for 8 years. So I know a little bit about the environment as well. I looked at this proposal. Mr. Zakaria has bent over backwards for this project.
argue with that.
And
They're nice.
not only that, not only did he not go above and beyond, which he did go above and beyond, he met with the mayor, he met with council.
I don't have any problem. with
Okay,
Mr.
he
Zakaria.
also offered and met with residents.
Yes, and he's a very nice guy.
Absolutely. He has bent over backwards.
That is not my argument. You, first of all, you,
There is
there are two big problems there. One is the hotel, and I don't think you want a hotel in the center of your township. I don't care what you say. And I think if people really realize that, they would not want it. But it's yet to be proven. And I don't think that when you have a slip road or you have a road that goes into those townhouses and connects to two exits on Highway 35. I really wonder how much traffic you're going to cure, whether you're not going to have people go right into that thing to avoid the corner and go out to 35. I mean, there are elements in that plan that are wonderful, and there are elements that ought to be discussed.
There
and
will
I
be.
don't think
They will absolutely be discussed.
at next meeting, March 3rd.
Well, you can discuss them then, but at the planning board, if it doesn't work, the engineers, if it's not approved by DEP,
But my experience with the planning board.
You know what, Mrs. Hudson?
well, that is
Have to
Interrupt
talk
you.
not
into the
true.
microphone.
Primarily
That is
because
not
you're
true.
not going to be picked up on the microphone. Because you touched it.
My
Now,
fault.
it's not going to
Okay,
be good.
so they won't hear. So what? Seven
Gotta be
people,
like 3
seven people
inches.
are going to miss my testimony, so that's all.
That's true.
No, but I just think.
Our ratings are up to 10.
Yeah.
10 people.
no, the planning board, I've seen the planning board, Mrs. Hudson, they don't approve every application that comes in. I've sat on it myself for 6 years. I've seen Mr. Falvo go 0 for 4 one night.
You guys are recommending it. Once that.
We're not recommending
March
it. We're
8th
making a
is the
zone
key.
change.
If you pass that zoning ordinance,
Mhm.
it goes to the planning board. It's fait accompli. That's how I see it. I mean, it's just going to happen. So the only opportunity people have is where you would delay. That's what I'm not asking you not to vote for it. I'm asking you to delay it because if you delay it and we could get more township.
You've been trying that for
out,
2 years.
we
We're
could
not
have
delaying it.
fair debate that
Mrs. Hudson.
All these opportunities.
Not
because
delaying
it's
it.
out. You've had all these
With
opportunities.
7 people coming? What?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's not our fault.
No,
But
not.
it's already zoned for
Listen,
development.
I
I don't
said-
understand.
All right, you know what?
Look,
We'll
I
just
said
go
you
over
could
again.
blame the developers. I don't. You could blame the council. I don't. I blame us.
Okay.
All right? I blame. And I'm asking, you know, in 2005, we had the Asbury Park Press. You remember what happened with the sewage? We had this James Zhang who did a wonderful job.
I'm in it. Right, I'm in those articles. I have them here.
And people knew what was going on. We don't have that. Look
They
at
have
the
social
media.
media now
I'll tell you
that's
something
more
else.
powerful.
Not only do people know what's
Than the-
going on, like I
hate
tell
to
you,
say
I was
Asbury
in
Park
Wayside. I've
Press.
had a bunch of people come up to me and say, "When is that going in? Why isn't that going in? What's going on? What's delaying it?" So there are people on both
A
sides
bunch
of the issue.
people- yeah, oh, I know that.
They don't come to the meetings.
I know that. But I also
We
know.
have John Huss.
Listen,
We
2 to
have a
1.
street named after John Huss.
2 to 1, they voted for the open space.
There you go.
Listen, they voted for the open space 2 to 1, even to get their taxes raised. All right, that must mean something.
It does.
We don't have that much land. You say 100 acres.
Yes,
We don't
there's
have that
100
much,
acres
all right?
of
All right.
undeveloped
This
land
is
still in
the
play.
key. I mean, if they were concerned about open space, my God, they'd be concerned about this property. This is your iconic historic road. This is going to change. You have not had any commercial development on the east side of 35. We're a mess on the west side. All right, you haven't had any of that. Now you're going to have 2 roads. One is going to go into a restaurant.
We just did a ribbon cut at Manasquan Savings, Manasquan Bank. That's on the east side of 35. What do you mean?
Deal Road.
We went to
Deal Road.
Playa Bowls. We had a ribbon cut in
On
there
Deal
2 weeks
Road?
ago.
On Deal Road.
On the east side of 35 that you
My other
mentioned.
argument is,
Yes.
I want you to show me for sure that you cannot raise the money to do this. In other words, the county has excess money. You have a state bank coming in. You have $485,000 a year that you would be getting. You could sell off the commercial property and make that money. In other words, show
Mrs.
us.
Hudson, let me just say one thing, Mrs. Hudson. Mrs. Hudson, you're familiar with Fair Share Housing, which was formerly COA. And each town now in around 3 has an unmet need, not determined by us. We hired a master. We've been fighting this since 2009. Okay? And our number, I think our RDP, realistic development number, is 239 that we can build out. And our unmet need number, which we have to show them where we can build, is almost 1,038. If we bought that property, they can still say, perfect, you can have, we're going to overlay the golf courses, believe it or not, to show them that one day you can build it here. We're going to have to do that, unfortunately. But a prime piece like that, it's possible. Not that they would do it. I'm just saying that's a possibility. We have to think of everything, what's best for the entire community, and what the pitfalls are and what the landmines are. And that's a landmine.
But that's part also of this promotion.
So it's.
Thank you, Mrs. Hudson.
But thank you again. I appreciate your comments.
Chomping at the bit.
I just want to close. I don't know. I don't think anyone else wants to speak right now. But people do come to me. A lot of people. You say a lot of people call you because of the sign. It has really generated a lot of people. Many people don't come to these meetings because they keep in touch on social media, which we didn't have the last time. Everybody did turn up because it was the only way for them to get the news. But what the general feeling is of the opposition, and it continually is displayed here at these meetings, is that from an environmentalist point of view, and the things that we want to fight for, we don't want a gas station next to Poplar Brook. We don't want this development on wetlands. We don't want more impervious ground cover. From an environmentalist point of view, they've been given no time at all. And the one study that I keep bringing up, and not to be repetitive, was the Rucker study. I thought it was very well done. Mary from the Environmental Commission had organized that. We've never had that on film. So people do watch these meetings. In fact, I didn't know you banged your head against the wall after my last my questions. Everyone told me that. So the film, and then I was went back to look at the movie. I figured I was here. I rarely go back to look at them because I'm here.
I didn't know that.
So when my back was turned, you were banging your head against the wall. But people feel like it's a done deal. That's why we keep.
I heard
the sign
that in
up to say that.
2004. Done deal.
They
I'll never
say it's
forget
a done deal.
I'll
They
never
say they want the court case to go away. They say the mayor is in the listed in this court case. And what incentive do any of you have to go against it? Because the quicker you get it through, the quicker it's behind us. It doesn't go to court. People don't have to answer under oath. There's a lot of cynicism out there. So they don't come here because they're cynical of the process, because it's had, sadly, a history of corruption. And now, Mayor Siciliano, you do a lot for the community. You're out there. People like you. You're a nice guy. We even like your beard. I think it's a good look.
Oh,
but the thing is that the whole system, they're like they're going to do it. And I'm sorry that I really thought you were going to have the environmentalists here, because I thought if they had their due time, just like Paramount did, like we're all bending down for this developer who doesn't even technically own the land yet. And you have tax-paying residents here. They may live in this town, but not near the neighborhoods. We have nice, quiet neighborhoods. Peter and I are on Deal Road. We knew it was a busy road, but everyone behind us and Mercer Court and people on the Poplar Brook side, like they tell us their land in their backyards is wet all the time, right. And that's without impervious ground cover. That's just because it's wetlands.
Jackie, I think you can go on after I just say this. Even though we're doing a zone change, any approval still, in other words, a property could be zoned for commercial development or housing development, as long as they can meet the requirements set forth by DEP or engineers on the planning board, drainage, things like that. So we've had cases where somebody had a piece of property, well, this is zoned R1, residential 1, I could build a house, right? No, we just did a study and found out that most of it's wetlands and you can only develop this piece, and they've not been able to develop it. Even though we're changing the zone, it doesn't mean DEP is going to approve a gas station if the concerns are that legit. And it's a very, very rigorous process they go through. So that's one of the issues. It's not wetlands. There are wetlands on that 32 acres, and they're avoiding them, and they're staying within a prescribed distance from them, and then some. They're adding to. So that they can't, nobody can build on wetlands.
Right.
You have to stay so far away, and there's buffering required, and there's a line, et cetera. So, but that, again, I know you don't want to hear, but planning board could still say, you know what, this, that, or DEP denied your approval for gas station, and that could go away.
All right.
But
We've
the other
been
thing
taking
is,
bets.
you made a comment.
But it could happen.
You made a comment that I've heard before, that the council has, I think, bowed down to the developer, which I find very frustrating, because
They have money.
Because yes, the developer probably has money, and the developer again started out with a project with 245 residential units and a substantially larger number of commercial units and impervious coverage. And if this council was bowing down to that developer, that would have been the project a year ago. But instead, we've gone from 245 down to, probably 200 to 150 to 100 to 68 or 70 or wherever we're at now. And the impervious coverage has been reduced. All of those things have happened primarily because this council has not bowed down. And frankly, I resent that kind of comment.
Well,
on behalf of the
that's
council.
how it sounds. We haven't heard from any environmentalists. None of them have been given the
Thank
high
you.
school to speak on the problem.
But that won't. But Jackie, if I had the environmentalists here, that wouldn't change us making a zone change. We still will zone something for this use or that use.
I was hoping it would go to court just so people.
Then it would have to meet environmental concerns. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, that would have nothing to do with the zone change. Having those folks here with zero, it may have something to do with what they can build there later on, how much can actually be built on, but it had nothing to do with the zone change. As I mentioned, we could zone it for something, whether they could build on it's another story.
No, but if we didn't approve the hotel and we didn't approve the gas station, it would open it up to other uses, perhaps. Stop and Shop will not entertain anyone else because
But the gas station, as
Kara
Mr.
has-
Arbus alluded to, and even Mr. Huss in 1972, has always been a permitted use. Not that anybody's ever wanted to
But
put one
because
there.
it didn't make sense to put it there, we have them up and down 35. And
Yeah,
honestly,
you know.
the traffic study, it's definitely going to bring more traffic. Or why put a restaurant? Why put stores
To
there?
capture traffic that's
How
there.
do you say to people, rent this space, but no one's going to
See,
come?
they do their
Of course
traffic.
people
I'm not
are
going to
come.
defend them. I'm just saying I know their processes because I sat on the planning board. Their engineers, they do a study, a traffic study, and they say there's this much traffic to capture there. It's a good bet to put this business or that business. We don't do the study for them. They do their own study.
I have one more thing, and I'm going to stop.
Sure.
This COA percentage that we have to meet. Why is it possible to put part of it in this new development, since we're taking down trees anyway? Would the developer be open to a portion of his housing for COA?
He has an option there.
Well, if to be honest with you, one of the issues, I really don't want to, because that was part of a negotiation I can't really get into, but when they put in COA, they typically then seek a higher density development. So if they're putting in 68 fair market value units, and then you say, no, we want you to have a percentage of COA units, then instead of 68, they'll say, okay, we want to put in 110 units.
Right, but then we tell them they're compromise.
Well, I know, but we got them compromised to this.
Maybe instead of townhouses, we do COA, and then they have the commercial development anyway. Because I can't imagine people paying $500,000 to have a
Be
commercial
surprised.
development behind them like that.
I can't either. You'd be surprised though.
But anyway, it would, because this way we won't have to cut down other trees for
Go
COA.
to the Grove and look at the houses behind there.
Yeah.
It's the same
Yeah.
kind of.
I know. That's what we don't want that.
You don't want the Grove. You want trees, right? Isn't that true?
Yes.
Isn't that what you want is trees?
Yes, but I could
Okay,
deal
so the
with
bottom
13
line is, no matter
acres.
what happens,
13
we'll
acres.
never satisfy.
Did you see my film? Did you see Judy Dench's film about the trees?
No.
I'll have to get your email and send it to you.
Thank you,
All right.
Jackie. Anybody else before we adjourn? We want to thank you all for coming. Someone please make a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Councilmember Long,
Yes.
Napolitani,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Meeting adjourned. Yes, meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming. We are twice a day at 22 and 77 at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. 22 if you have files, and 77 if you have cable vision. Meeting adjourned. See you later, folks.